have about the wolf management plans in Sweden and Finland. Then we have a commentary on it. And last but not least, we have Andras talking about the response and EU perspective on these issues. So our first speaker is Helene Lindahl from a Swedish Environmental Protection Agency, and she's talking about the Swedish wolf management plan. Please.
Thank you. You know where they are. Right. Hello. It's nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me. There should be more people from the Swedish EPA here, but I'll try to tell them about all the interesting things I've learned here. I've been asked to come here and talk a bit about our management plan for the wolf. That's something that I've been part of working with. And I was also going to say that before I was invited here, I made a presentation, well actually this one, that I've changed a bit now, because of a Danish group that came to Sweden. They wanted to hear a bit of experience from our work with making a management plan for the wolf, because they are working on one now in their country. First of all, if I can have the full attention of everyone, thank you. Right. Anyway, why should we have management plans? I think it's important to have a tool for everyone to know how we are going to reach the aims that we have, the ones that the political aims for the large carnivores. We need to communicate these aims and how to reach them, and we have to discuss together how it should be done. It's not always so easy to discuss the aims themselves, since some of them are a bit difficult to change, like this with favorable conservation status. But you can always discuss on how to reach these aims. But anyway, these plans are important tools to communicate what needs to be done, what the aims are, and we also feel that they are important tools for the ones that is carrying out the active management, which in Sweden are mostly the county administrations that now deal with the practical day-to-day work. Then I wanted to say something about this thing with action plans and management plans. We made action plans for many of these species earlier on, and we make action plans for threatened species. And normally we make management plans for the species when they're not threatened. These animals that we're talking about today, they have moved a bit in between there. And as I write here, these management plans are also an important tool to show how these animals can be managed whilst still keeping them in favorable conservation status. That's a sort of another important part of the work with management plans. Oops, anyway. Right. Just wanted to say what the current aim is for the large carnivores in Sweden. Now we had a government bill that was decided in December 2013, and the aims there are that all the large carnivores are to be kept in a favourable conservation status or reach favourable conservation status, whilst at the same time the animal husbandry should not be significantly hampered, and there should be socio-economic considerations being taken. And this can be discussed what that is, and we try to figure it out as best as we can. And another important part is that these large carnivores should be managed through protective hunting and also through licensed hunting. The difference being the protective hunting is if you have a specific damage that you're trying to avoid, and the licensed hunting is more a regulation of the numbers. Another important part of the present policy is also this of the day-to-day issues, and the decisions should be moved closer to people, and now these decisions are taken much more by the counties, the county administrations. So with the plans, we made a plan for all the large carnivores in 2012, but now we had 2014, we got a new government assignment to amend those plans from 2012 to make them work better with the new policy. And it said in this assignment that we should have clearer targets for the management. And as very often with these government assignments, we have very little time, which usually make the consultation process very narrow, unfortunately. So we had this challenge when working with making new updated management plans, that in the older plans we only had the political aims, and we had milestones showing what we wanted to do. We were only allowed to have descriptive targets, sort of saying this could have been a target that would be useful. The plans are very thick and very difficult to use as a day-to-day tool for management. They described the current status, what we do today, very well, but didn't say so much about what we wanted to do. And there have been limited consultations as well. So the idea was to make the new plans that we made for better tools for the actual management. And the idea was to break down these political aims into milestones, and then these milestones into precise targets. And this is not easy. I'm sure many of you have experience of making such targets, because you want them to be understandable, and you want them to be practical, and you want them to be realistic. Otherwise they're not much use, and this is something that takes a lot of experience to manage to do in a good way. And then we have actions, those actions that we think was needed to reach the targets. And the targets was the ones that we needed to reach the political aims. So it's like a chain. And then the last part, and not the least by any means, the follow-up to see, does it work, this chain. So I wanted to show you some examples so you know what I mean. This is obviously the wolf plan. And one of the aims is to have a favourable conservation status, and the milestone, well, that was the same, favourable conservation status. And these are two of the targets. The number of wolves to be at least 270, that's our reference value for the wolf, and at least one new reproducing immigrant per 5 years. So that was the precise targets. Actions. This is some of the actions, obviously there's more in the plan, but some of the actions was to develop cooperation with Finland and Russia, because we think this is the long-term way to reach these targets, much better than carrying around wolves, which I was responsible for this government assignment before. Another part of action is to have a dialogue with the reindeer herders on how to manage with the wolf migration in a good way. We haven't already solutions, and we think these solutions we have to discuss and find together with the reindeer herders in North Sweden. Follow-up of this will be the survey results, where we find out how many wolves we have and what are their genetic status. Another example, the other part of the aim I was describing about the not hampering the animal husbandry significantly, where the milestone was to have less damages made from large carnivores. One of the targets was this tolerance level that Jenny was speaking about before, that there shouldn't be more than 10% damages from large carnivores from the total winter herd of each Sami village. So this is a political target as well. And the actions is that we have our counties together with representatives from the Swedish reindeer representatives. They are working with something called a management tool at the moment, trying to figure out how to do this. And then we have the follow-up with the statistics, how much damage from the counties and from the Swedish Wildlife Center, Damage Center. So this is how the plan sort of works in a way. So this is showing you a structure of the plan, just to get you some idea. The first ones are quite obvious. Telling number one there is telling about what is a management plan, what's the idea of it. The second one is overview, what sort of management do we do, how do we work around it. Point 3 there, that is the core of the management plan, describing the aims and targets and actions I was telling you about now. Obviously there's a lot of actions to reach a lot of targets as well, but the idea is that this will be the core of the management plan, telling what we're trying to do, how to do it, and then try to follow up. And so this will be a tool for everyone. And then there's a quite thick part as well, obviously telling about all the facts and figures about the population and about the damages and so forth. So you have all the data describing different interesting issues that you need to know about. Consultations is very important. As I mentioned, we've had very limited time for consultations, and but we think that is very important. Apart from making more precise targets and actions, having a plan that is properly consulted, that's another important part to make a successful management plan. And we've heard about our Finnish colleagues, how they work with their plans, and we think we would like to do something similar. Because obviously it's important that everyone agrees to what actions need to be done and how we should reach the aims. This needs to be discussed, and you have to have proper consultations to reach this. So we are working now with a plan how to make proper consultation processes we can use in the future for updates. We also have an action plan on how to actually carry out all the actions. I'll go into that in details. But the idea is that these management plans are to be updated every 6 years, and that's also following the circle with the Article 17 reporting to the EU Commission, where we have possibly new reference levels, and then revising them every 3 years, but just looking into, are the actions still relevant? Do we need to change anything? And we think that having this proper consultation process that are allowed to take time is an important part of the work with these future revisions. We also think that we have some work to do to make even better, more precise targets and clearer links between the targets and the actions. That the actions actually are the right ones to reach the targets, not just the actions that we already do and already thought of. And the follow-up as well, plenty to do there. That's the important part as well, to see, does it work? Are we actually reaching the aims that we're supposed to? 2 minutes for questions. If there are any.